there are two types of costs really. You wanna be sure of managing two types of costs. Number one are your fixed costs. All right, those are very easy and very upfront. Most of the time, your fixed costs are going to be rental. It's going to be salaries that you pay. Yeah. And you also want to make sure your variable costs are also variable costs are costs that go up with revenue. So the more money you make, yeah, the higher your variable costs are going to be. So your cost of goods sold, utilities, if you keep the factory running for longer, then your utility bills will go up, and then that goes up along with revenue. So the more money that you make, the more variable costs you're going to have. So the thing about your cost structure is that you've got to also understand how your costs work. When I say how your costs work, you almost have to understand its behavior. So let me go with variable costs. Okay, let me go with variable costs. And when you take a look at variable costs, it's your raw material. So you need that kind of raw material to be able to operate your business. All right. So if you're a manufacturing concern, this is a very important number, because if you can produce 1 ringgit of revenue when you sell your product, 1 ringgit of revenue from a lower and lower variable cost, and your variable costs will come from where? What is a variable cost for you? Number one, raw material, and your raw material comes from suppliers. So guys, we're not saying here let's squash our suppliers and pay them very little. Yeah, let's do that. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm trying to say is optimize how much you pay your suppliers, but you might also want to say, there are benefits for me if I invest in a little bit of storage and then I buy more because I can keep the raw material for a long time. That is also possible. There are certain types of food that you can keep for a long time. And then you invest in storage, but you've got to do a pro and con. If I invest in storage and keep more stock, it drives my cost down. That could give me better gross profit margin. That means I can reduce my cost of goods by increasing storage. But again, it's a trade-off. So what you would pay for more expensive raw material, you might be able to get it cheaper if you can be more competitive with storage space. You see, again, it's calculation, which is cheaper, A or B. I know some businesses, they can get the storage really cheap. They own several properties, they stuff it all up with raw material, but that's fine because storage is cheap for them. So they say, okay, I'll buy a whole lot, but I'll save over in the long run and my cost of goods come down. So you see, a lot of it as well is that, you see, I can go into a lot of detail on this, but guys, you really need to understand your profit and loss. And I love getting all chummy with the P&L because as a banker, I love looking at profit and losses. I love looking at cash flow statements. So I actually get the numbers to tell me stories. And so this is one part where you really get to see, and you see, the thing is, you also want to make sure that you're seeing the story from a few years. You're not just looking at your P&L. See, a lot of people look at a P&L just 1 year. There's one number. No. You want to be able to look at a trend. A more important part of a P&L is when you look at its monthly behavior. And you want to be able to look at that as well. Yeah, how much stock do you have left? You know, do you have a lot of stock left for certain products? Yeah, and you see, these are all important conversations for you to have, because then it goes back to your revenue, your offering, and how your business makes money. This is all truly important, whether you're a B2C or B2B. Fixed costs, however, as I go, fixed cost is rental and salaries. Okay. There are a few other things that are like fixed costs. You know, it depends on what kind of business you're in. If you're in a franchise business, you've got a royalty payment, you know, and those can be pretty fixed, you know, it can be up and down as well. Again, it depends on your franchise model. Again, this is so many facets of this, yeah, different businesses. Rental and salaries, if I may. So, in order for us to be optimal with our fixed costs, I don't mean go and talk to your landlord and say, I want to squash down my rental fee that I pay you. Oh my gosh, your landlord going to kick you out, right? Provided you're renting. But otherwise, that's not what I mean. But what I mean is being very optimal with how you use the space. You know, do you need to use it? And you see, these are all questions that we get our clients asking as well. Do you need to use the space, as in, do you need to stock up? You know, do you need to have a lot of space to run the occasional seminar? And you see, these are questions that I ask myself. Or could you invest in better technology so that you don't have to have a very huge seminar space, but you have a very, very good webinar tool, you know, that enables us to reach out to so many more people that are just not even in the same vicinity as I am right now. So you see, again, these are trade-offs. How do you use the space? That's rental, all right? So do you need to have a very, very big office? Do you need all that? Number two, salaries. Now, this is a very, very big conversation. And for me, I invest a lot of time talking with clients around how they're paying salaries. Yeah? And you see, this is again coming down to how do you know that your every employee is as productive as possible? For every dollar of salary that you pay, are you getting the optimum productivity from said employee? Now, this is not as to say some, yeah, but some hardworking and then some lazy and all that. No. That's not what I mean. Sometimes you might find that your employees are using very slow methods to do something. Yeah, and then there are quicker, faster ways. Maybe there's a lot of firefighting going on, you know, misunderstanding of dates, of meetings, or appointments. Maybe. And then so maybe I got to come up with a software that centralizes our understanding on all of our tasks. Yeah, and a conversation that I had with a client recently is that, look, you know, we're not able to keep track of a lot of our deadlines. One of the things that we've got to do is look, where do we centralize all of the projects? Because everybody in the office is just working on their own projects. Some are overlapping, some are not. And then we find ourselves having a lot of debates around what the deadlines are and say, hey, hang on, could a software help us to do this? And then you invest in a software to optimize salaries, your costs, fixed costs. So you have that same 10 people in your company that can make that $1 million, and if you have those softwares, you probably have 8, you only need 8 people to make that same 1 million. So it brings down how much you would otherwise cost, and your team, for every dollar of manpower cost, can help you make more result, make more profit, and make more money. You see, again, these are the relationships. And yeah, again, it comes down to the kinds of employees that you have. You know, it's a lot easier, gang, to set and define this if my employee is a salesperson. You see, that's why the easiest KPIs to come up with is sales KPI. Gosh, put your finger up in the air, everybody has a sales KPI. But the challenge is when it is not a sales KPI, then oh my gosh, I can't define the contribution of that employee to my business. But actually I can. So for every employee, you do need to look into the productivity, but you can look at how these costs can be optimal by first making sure each employee is productive, they're performing. But sometimes you might need to start using systems and SOPs. If you find there's a lot of firefighting, there's a lot of confusion, there's a lot of wastage of time, and you as the owner, you can sometimes see that people are wasting time doing something and there are quicker, faster ways to do it. You might need to implement softwares, systems entirely. But if you find that that's happening in your business, employees are wasting time, they're not productive, you got to step in. All right, so that again determines cost.